Hello everyone. My name is Stryfium and welcome back. It's Misfits Racing League Endurance Series time, and for this weekend, of course, in place of Mugello, joining me as always is Mclaren for the French Grand Prix. How are you doing, Mick?
Oh, I'm doing well, Stryfium. I can't wait to see how these guys go around Circuit Poricar this evening.
Yeah,
Should be a good one.
I am very excited for this race as, well, I think it's a circuit that will be interesting to see in the virtual space in a 100% distance format, of course, and I think a lot of the drivers on the grid today are excited as well for this action. Of course, whenever we are good to go and all of the drivers are in Macau, we should be good to launch ourselves into this lobby. Of course, do we have a weather report ahead of this race? I know that for these races we kind of go on, well, reality, so to speak. So what are we looking for here in France?
I don't believe there will be any clouds in France at the moment, so shouldn't be anything for these drivers to worry about. But we'll wait and see.
Of course, this is round 9 of the Endurance Series. Most recently, we took to the Temple of Speed last weekend for Monza, where we saw a very, very wild race. However, not nearly as wild as the real Formula 1 race that took place last Sunday, which is still just right there in your mind when you think Formula 1. Of course, Pierre Gasly with the win in that. Now, the Frenchman in Mugello this weekend. Of course, we're here around France. Love to see it. Waiting for a couple more drivers that potentially get in this lobby. Could be a couple of issues. Now, for these races, a little bit different from the normal Misfits Racing League stuff that you're used to seeing here on the channel. Reduced damage and regular corner cutting stringency are in effect for the Endurance Series. Of course, it is going to be a short qualifying 18-minute session with a 100% distance race. And I'm very excited about that. Safety car on as well with the formation lap.
Yeah, you can't take any liberties with this 100% distance. It's a long race. It is called the Endurance Series after all. 100%. You know, a straight solid hour and a half of non-stop driving it flat out takes its toll. So it isn't for the faint of heart.
This circuit's going to be a real good one, I think, for the Endurance Series, because you just said it, there's a good portion of this circuit that's actually flat out. And it's easy to get caught napping, I find, on circuits like this, when you have those long straights, especially if there's a difference.
It is easy, but yeah, there is lots of runoff, as is as is custom of Paul Ricard. But even still, that long straight, you miss your braking point by 10-15 meters, and you're straight into the back of the car in front, which isn't ideal.
Definitely not. Definitely. And I do
I'm also
believe
curious
we
how
are
the
ready to
tires
go
hold
here.
up. Yeah, we are just waiting for all the drivers to ready up so we can get this lobby underway. I'm curious to see how the drivers handle Sector 3 for, I think it's 50-something laps from memory, like 52-ish. I don't know. We'll find out in a little bit. But yeah, that Sector 3 is very, very, very challenging. So hopefully we'll see some good lap times here in qualifying and some good battles during the race.
I certainly hope so. I mean, this is a circuit. I know a few drivers on this grid are going to be excited about. Zamis, I know it's a personal favorite of his. I think Yoda said that he's winning this race. All right, so Yoda, keep your eyes on him.
All right, well that's done then.
He said he's
If
winning
Yoda
this
says
race.
he's winning it.
He said he's winning this race. He may use the force here to win this race, but I don't know what's going to happen. Of course, in the McLaren as normal this time around, BTFU is going to be lining up with him on the grid for McLaren. Zamis in the Mercedes this evening with Jake over in the Ferrari. We saw a stunning performance from him last weekend in Monza here in the Endurance Series. Ruben in the Racing Point for a change. You normally see him in the Scarlet Red car as well. Jones in the Williams Domi over in the Renault with Cotters in the Racing Point. Cotter's been doing a lot of driving lately, and he's been doing great. Of course, he is in 8th on the timing tower. Liam in 9th. Wisp in 10th. Freeware in 11th. Gadwin the Finn in the Red Bull as always. Astrodite in the Haas. You see him in that car a lot as well. Shenjie in the Renault. Max Inkster there in 15th. I think he has a new rig to be running the game, so I think he's really excited to have that. So we'll hope to see him with some peak performance here in the race. Swifty over at Williams. Alex Biddo, Squid, Luktra is in as well, and Brainstew over at Red Bull. And that is your grid here for this very long endeavor. Of course, buckle in because, well, get the beverages, we got this 18-minute qualifying session. A couple cars going out now, Mikhail.
Yeah, it looks like Max Singster in that Haas is very, very keen to get out on track, as he usually is, wants to get that free screen time. We also see, I believe that's Ruben as the car behind him, just heading through turn 7. So, yeah, a few cars coming out on track. Everyone's, finalized the setups, at least under the Parc Ferme conditions. You can't make any major changes between when you leave the garage for qualifying and the race. You can only change the front wing angle and the brake bias and the differential, and I think that's about it actually. So yeah, all these drivers finalizing the setups. We're seeing a couple of medium tires. Wisp and Domi opting to make their first runs on the mediums. So we'll see how that goes for them. Not 100% sure on the time difference between the two, but we'll wait and see.
Well, it's going to be Max Inkster, first driver to take us through a lap around Paul Ricard. Take us through a lap, Mick.
Yeah, so turn 1 can be fairly hard to spot braking just as that curb starts, and you want to use all the curb over turn 2, just open up the track as much as possible. It can be hard to keep your lap valid through that section of circuit. And then through turns 3, 4, and 5, you just have to find the right line, find the right flow through that section of corners, and then get the best exit possible out of turn 6. Turn 7 completely flat for this long back straight. DRS open, and you're just waiting for the next chicane, braking around the 100-meter board, trying to use all the inside curbing for turn 8 and for turn 9, and then again trying to get as good of an exit as you can. You make your way down to this flat-out right-hander, which is absolutely thrilling. Through turn 10, trying to use just all the track available, and then for turn 11 and 12, I think it's actually just turn 11, but this double apex right can be quite thrilling, hoping the tires just hold on. Then through turn 12, this awkward uphill left-hander, it can be very hard to spot the braking point and not lock up that front left tire. Through 13, now into 14, trying to keep it tight to open up 15 as much as you can. And then down on the power, DRS open for the main straight, and you just wait for that timing line, which appears just after the starting grid, and that is the first lap on the board, a 1 minute 30.4 for the Haas driver.
Nicely done from him.
Oh, but Ruben just completely smashes that with a 129.1. So probably some time to find for the Haas driver still, but still early days.
Cotter's his teammate, a 138.8 in this campaign. He was in 3rd for a moment there, but you can see a few more drivers jumping in. Domi on medium compound tires. Mugello 129.7 out of the Renault camp here around France.
As Jake goes into provisional pole with a 1 minute 28.7. So it's already seeing these times start to fall as all the drivers are setting their first runs. That's Swifty going into provisional pole with a 128.4.
Very nicely done in the Williams.
Just keeping my eyes on these two Mercedes cars. Astrodite coming across the line in P3 with the 29 flat. Lutra going 28.1. Does Zemes have an answer? No, he doesn't. 28.3. It's a 1-2 for Mercedes at the moment.
Nicely done
But
from them. I know Zamis, as I said earlier, very comfortable around this circuit, and Luke Trey, I'm sure, doesn't mind it as well. BTFU about to cross the line in the McLaren. He goes 7th quickest here, a 129.4 on the mediums as well.
it's a pretty solid lap on the mediums. Brainster, the next one to cross the line. What will it be for him? It will be provisional pole by 5/10, 127.6. That is some serious pace in that Red Bull.
Brains to a driver we've seen through Tier 1 have some very good pace. See how he puts that through here in the 100% distance endeavor. Jumping ahead now is Shenjie in the Renault. He's gone P2, a 127.7 from him.
And Alex Bitto matches that time set by Shenjie, but isn't quite able to find that extra 10th and a half that he needs to dethrone Brainstew from that elusive provisional pole position.
Things very, very tight on this grid already, and we're only 6 minutes in, really. All of these drivers only having their first runs in. And speaking of drivers on first runs, Mikau, it is the McLaren of Yoda coming down into Sector 3.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty decent lap so far. Let's see how he handles the technical final sector. Hits that apex nicely. Carrying a decent amount of speed. Makes his way through 14. Trying to keep the car as tight as he can. Open up 15. Oh, it looks like a pretty clean lap so far. You just hug that left-hand side to get the shortest run to the line. And it will be a 27.7. So that's good enough for P2 at the moment for the McLaren. That's a very, very solid lap.
All drivers pretty well in the pit lane are on out laps at present. Jones currently in the Williams on those medium compound tires. No time set. Not entirely sure if he's going to be beginning a lap here. It appears he will be. He has ramped up that energy deployment mode, and he has Freeware ahead. Freeware is also going to be starting a lap, and there's a big kick out from the Williams. He's gone into the wall.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Front right end plate missing from Jones. So he's going to have to go around once again here to get back in and get that changed over. Very unfortunate. Meanwhile, the AlphaTauri of Freeware, no time on the board yet. Coming down through turn 4.
Yes, Freeware, our pole sitter in this past round in Baku. So he definitely has some strong pace. We'll see what he's able to do against the other front runners. But those times are very, very tight. Looks like he's actually going to get a bit of a slipstream from Wisp, as Wisp is now on his out lap. Yeah, on his out lap. But through the chicane he goes. There's a lot of speed in that AlphaTauri car. So we'll see what he's able to do. So he makes his way through Sector 3, through Turn 10. Turn 10 very early for 11. It doesn't seem to have cost him too much. Then through 12. Such a late blind apex, that one. It can be very, very hard to get right. Through 13 and 14. Keep it tight. Into 15. Then you just slam on the power. Where's this going to put him? It's going to put him provisional pole with a 27.5. So that is a very, very solid lap, and probably a bit of time to find as well.
This grid is ramping up, Mikau. It is currently less than a second from 1st to 8th position, and things really aren't that tight through the rest of this grid to the leader. And as we've seen through MRL action, anything can happen here around Paul Ricard.
Yeah, that's true. People think it's an easy circuit just because there's so much runoff. But in that sense, it still is fairly challenging. Like, the car can still slip away from you in certain spots if you aren't careful. Particularly the ones that come to mind are Turn 2 and Turn 12 and Turn 11, actually. But certainly isn't a walk in the park, and especially doing it for an hour and a half straight.
Yeah, definitely. And for drivers who could be flying here, it looks like Lutra is currently flying.
You know, right on board with Mercedes. Currently sitting P6 with a 1 minute 28, or P7 now as Swifty improves to P6. So Lutra P7 now, the 28.1. See what he's able to do coming through this final sector.
We've seen Lutra have some serious drives in this endurance series throughout the rounds we've held. Brazil, always one of those rounds that really comes to your mind. That first stint with Bitto wheel-to-wheel through that Brazilian circuit, just, it was wild, and he goes P2. A 127.6.
Yeah, so as the track continues to rubber in, we're going to see those times continue to fall. It was a good lap by Freeway though, so I don't know, he might have that pole position, dare I say, but I'm sure all these other drivers are going to have an answer very, very shortly.
Alex Bitto flying in that Ferrari right now. And definitely utilizing the circuit to its endurance series advantages here in this one.
Yeah, he's just trying to find all that extra lap time. See what he's able to do. I believe it's about a 10th or so up through the set to 2-3 split. So we'll see how much extra time he's able to find in this final sector. Touches the inside curb a bit. It's a bit scary there, Alex. But you don't want to be doing that too often. That can unsettle the car. But otherwise, it seems like a pretty fast lap. We'll see what he's able to do. He runs out of deployment really, really early, though. But it will be enough for a provisional pole with a 1 minute 27.3. So will we see a time in the 1 minute 26s by the end? I don't know.
Squid in that Alfa Romeo right now. He's on an invalidated lap coming through Sector 3. Curious to see if he begins a lap. No, he's coming into the pit lane. Next behind him, I believe, is going to be BTFU coming through at the final turn now. In the McLaren DRS wide open.
Yeah, let's see what the McLaren's able to do. It's good enough for P9 at the moment. The 1 minute 28.4. So it can't be too displeased with that, I'm sure. His teammate Yoda will be the next one to finish their next run. Let's see what the Albanian's able to do. Everyone seems to be running out of deployment really, really early on this main straight. But Yoda will push the bar even higher with a 1 minute 27.2. So I don't think a 26 is off the cards, Striff.
It's getting tight for sure. Brainstew improves by 0.2. Of course, you're seeing some very unique lines here in the Endurance Series. Regular corner cutting in effect for these races, just to give the drivers a little bit of peace of mind throughout the distance, just because, well, it's not something that they do all the time. But Astrodate in the Haas right now, he's in 10th position, and he's a driver that we've seen have some very unique races right now. He's in that Haas, and he's got Domi right behind him, not too far, a 10th behind. We'll have to see if he goes out for another lap here. It looks like he's on an in-lap presently. A lot of fast times on this grid right now.
Yeah, there are. It looks like both racing points might be on laps at the moment, but I'm not 100% sure. My timing tells saying they're both on out laps, but they're in that hot lap ERS mode, so I'm assuming they're on laps. We'll wait and see. Ruben, the first of those pink Mercedes to cross the line.
It appears he is just starting. He was 4.6, so he's come out, and now he's began utilizing that battery, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. No, each to their own. But we are in that little bit of a lull before the final runs. So, but can I just say, Striff, this top half of the grid looks fairly compact. A second going, separating the top 8, as it were.
Well, with the amount of runoff here and not too much separation, I think there's going to be a lot of fighting around here, and I'm just making sure I keep hydrated because I think we might be in for a real eventful race here. I don't know how often we can see a safety car around here, but I think we're going to have a lot of uninterrupted green flag racing here, and I think we're going to see a lot of tight racing is the hope.
Yeah, tight and clean racing. That's the extra hope, as it were. No, I completely messed that one up. But nevertheless, lots of drivers now on their out laps.
Ruben about to cross in that racing point. P9, 138.379.
Yeah, 28.3 is quite a solid time from the racing point. See if his teammate's able to do any better. He's heading through turn 11 as we speak. We have lots of drivers now starting their final runs in quali. Carters. A driver we haven't seen too much of recently, I don't believe. But he seems to be doing okay for himself here. Currently P18. We'll see what he's able to do as he comes up to the line. And I don't think it will be an improvement, no. So he'll stay in 18th. But he's ahead of Liam and Max Singster at the moment.
Cotter is a driver who made his debut in MRL EU, and he's been in a reserve role as well in a few races, and he's just been doing what he can to consistently improve his racing. Right now on board back with Damas in the Mercedes.
Oh, Astrodite has been disqualified from the session. So he'll be at the back.
Very odd.
Not quite sure how that happened, but it's happened.
Very interesting.
This track is very busy at the moment. My goodness. Looks like Yoda starting his final run. Jake saying that he's had enough. He's happy with a 1 minute 28.7. Freeware is able to improve by 2/10, but it's just not enough to dethrone Yoda. 2 milliseconds in it, to be exact. That is very close.
NJ to the line.
Yeah, what's Chenjay going to be able to do as the checkered flag drops? It will also be a 27-2, but on the wrong side of the fence, as it were. He will be in P3, is the best he can hope for.
BTFU in the McLaren. He's flying through.
Yeah, I believe he will be the next one to set his flying lap. I believe Domi's on an invalidated lap as well. We'll see what the McLaren driver is able to do. DRS open and just blast it to the line, and he'll improve one spot up to P9 to 1 minute 28.370. So Freeware retires from the session.
It appears Domi may have come through in time to get a lap in, and Jones has improved as well.
Yeah, Jones up to P11, which is the second pole, as it were. Get that free choice of tire. Swifty on a lap, but all the AI cars from drivers finishing are going to block him severely. So it's unfortunate for him. And it'll just be Domi who has retired. So that will be it for qualifying, Striff.
Well, a very rapid front half of this grid, as you said, Mclaren. It is going to be Yoda in the McLaren on pole, and once again, he did call it ahead of this race. He said, I am winning the French Grand Prix for the Endurance Series. So we'll see He set it on pole, Mikal. Okay, so we'll have to see what he does in the race. Freeware in second, Shenjay rounding out your top three here. Of course, Alex Bitto in fourth, Brainstew in fifth. We'll go through the rest of this grid for you come formation lap time.
Yeah, we have Mercedes 6 and 7. So probably not where we're used to seeing them in real life, but certainly isn't a bad result for the German squad. I'm curious to see how Zamus goes around here, Strip. He absolutely loves it here, and he's hoping to do well, I'm sure.
He has always spoken very highly of his love for this circuit since the moment we met him. So we'll see if he is able to put that into times today on the grid. Of course, all of these drivers getting their setups finalized. Perk Ferme was enabled, so they aren't able to adjust too much other than fuel load, tire strategies. Of course, for those outside the top 10, picking that starting tire, things like this. It is a very, very long race. Buckle up. Tell your friends. We're going to be here for quite some time racing around Paul Ricard. And my name is Striffium. Joining me as always is Mikal. And we hope you enjoy the race that we are about to witness here around France.
Yep, so 53 laps is the number. Chenjay very keen to get going off the formation lap. But we'll just get set up here. I'll tell you, so let's talk tires.
Well, 4 drivers on this entire grid on the medium compound tires, the rest on the red rimmed tires. And that is very, very interesting here. So 4 drivers on the different strategy here looking to go long. They are Domi, Squid, Max, and Cotters.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that more drivers didn't go for the alternative strategy option. From memory, I thought that softs die out pretty quickly, but I could be wrong. I mean, that is, of course, going off data from last year's game. We haven't had a league race around this circuit as of yet. But I think it will be 2 weeks' time, if memory serves me right.
That is correct. Of course, this coming week we have Canada. Following that, we will be moving on over to the French Grand Prix for the Misfits Racing League season. Of course, the Endurance Series set to follow the Formula 1 calendar, and as a result of Mugello this weekend it not being in the game, we took it to a vote, and the drivers wanted to do a run around Paul Ricard. So here we are, of course, not even getting there in the 50% races. We're diving right in with this 100%er, so we have pretty well no information on the tires here, except as I say it, for all of those soft runners, it's predicting either a soft medium medium or a soft medium hard, Mikal.
Yeah, I think we might be looking at it 2-stop. In these 100% races compared to the 50%ers, the 2-stop is more viable because in the grand scheme of things, you're not losing as much time. Or you have more time to make use of the fresher and softer rubber in order to close up that gap and make progress after your extra pit stop. But it is a long pit lane here, so I'm not entirely sure what these drivers are going to be able to do, but Strafim, it looks like Liam is taking his final spot on the grid, and we will be underway very, very shortly.
For those of you just tuning in, welcome to Misfits Racing League Endurance Series action. This is round 9, the French Grand Prix. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in France. We're going to have a little bit of a timing desync here. The cars are revving those engines. And it is the McLaren away.
Yeah, so they're off again for this 100%. It looks like Freeway's gotten an amazing start. He's already pulling out ahead of Yoda, but Yoda will have that inside line for turn 1. They're side by side as Alex Bitto already takes out that bollard. All the drivers trying to navigate their way through turn 2. There's a massive contact. There's a massive accident behind them. That's BTFU, Jones and Max, I think. And Max will get a drive-through penalty straight away for a severe collision with BTFU.
Well, that must have been a pretty severe collision for him to just full-blown get a drive-through penalty. Wisp has had an issue, Mikau. He's spun that AlphaTauri round, and he cooked the rears, it would seem. Maybe overtake enabled there for him, but of course there's still a fight unfolding here. Shenjay on the rear of Freeware right now, and it's Brainstew looking at both of them. Alex Bitto isn't too far behind this, and there's a great train moving through this top 10 in this race. And, well, just look at the times on this grid right now, and there is another incident in the back of this grid, and it just looks though I don't know what is going on in the rear of this grid, but I know that it's Freeware right now on the inside of Yoda, and Shenjay's having a peek as well.
Yoda holding on to that position for now, but what a crazy first lap already. You know, Paul Ricard isn't typically known for its first lap dramas, but we're certainly seeing a lot of it here. Alex Bitto just trying to stick with the rest of the lead pack. Bracer has a look on Shenjay down the inside of the final corner. They're still wheel to wheel as they make their way down the main straight for the first time. Max thinks to in the pits to serve that drive-through, but it will be Yoda leading them away on this first lap. Followed by Freeware, then Shenjay, Brainstew, Alex Bitto currently in 5th, Zamis and Lutra, both Mercedes 6th and 7th, their holding position there. Domi in 8th on those medium tires, so he's done very well for himself to avoid that early carnage. Swifty into P9, and Jake will be rounding off the top 10, as it were.
There's a lot of fighting going on in this grid right now, Mikko. A lot of tight intervals on the tower. Gadwin has Liam barking up his rear right now, and he's on the inside. Gadwin going a little wide there, and they're wheel-to-wheel coming down into this very long straight.
Another two drivers who are also wheel-to-wheel are Brainstew and Alex Bitto at the moment, going through turns 8 and 9. It's a little bit of a love tap there, but no damage done. Zamis now is right behind that Ferrari, but the amount of speed in that Scarlet Red, that Scarlet Red Ferrari is...
Gadwin on the inside of Liam at the end of the straight. Mcgow, he's into 13th for Liam with Cotters very close to this action, and he's looking at the inside, and is he going to be able to sneak through on the Alfa Romeo?
Oh, he's run out of deployment. He has to leave the space. So it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make that move stick, unfortunately.
What a lot of fighting we're seeing here, and these guys aren't done. If this keeps up, Mcgow, we're in for a real treat.
Yeah, if this keeps up, Yoda's in for a tough time as well. DRS now enabled as we start lap 3 of this Grand Prix. And DRS down that back straight is very, very powerful. Alex Bitto, even with the regular corner cutting, picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings on lap 3 of this race. So you can just see how much he's pushing that car to try and get as far up the order as he can. And I do fear that this will be a massive DRS train, but Yoda is slowly pulling away. At least it might have gotten a better exit out of turn 7, but that DRS is bringing Freeway right back up to him. Alex Bitto looking to that inside line, trying to find a space to just send that car, trying to find a gap in the traffic. Liam and Gadwin still going at it. Liam up the inside into turn 8. So he will retake that 12th position behind his teammate, Squid, who is fallen off the pack a little bit, but that's Brainstew and Alex Bitto going side by side through turn 11. Brainstew a little bit ahead on the outside. He has to go off the track just to try and leave as much space as he can. But Brainstew will have the inside for turn 12, and that will be the position for the Red Bull for the time being, Striff.
Alex Bitto charging very hard here on the rear of that Red Bull, and Shenjay in 3rd is under a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, Freeware is doing what he can to stick with Yoda, and we saw these guys have such battles, but right now Zamis is on the rear of this Ferrari. He had the outside, he's moved on to the inside now. Is he going to break later? He's very tight to the back left of that prancing horse. They're coming through turn 2. Wheel to wheel now. That's the Mercedes out in front, just barely.
Yeah, chopped him off a little bit. As there's been another incident at turn 2.
Zamis has gone off.
Zamis is fun. Oh no.
Not going to be happy really about that.
No, certainly the tires won't be happy about that either.
Lutra's gotten Alex now. The other Mercedes has made the move. That's Lutra into 5th position. Now he's going to be looking ahead for the Red Bull. But Alex isn't going to go down without a fight here, utilizing a little bit of that battery on exit right now.
Yeah, but he's quite low on that said battery. He's already down to 5%. Lutra doing a lot better by comparison. But that was a super, super unfortunate spin for Zamas. Definitely has his work cut out for him now.
BTFU's made it ahead on Cotters now. Mugello, he's trying to recover. Meanwhile, it's Swifty, who's caught up with Jake in that Ferrari. Jake currently running in 8th, defending the Williams.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on these front runners at the same time. With Swifty with the massive, massive lockup into 14. So, see what he's able to do. Looks like Jake has expelled a lot of his battery. Look at the speed in the Williams. That's not something you say very often, but the Williams, with so much speed now, makes an easy pass on the Ferrari. What year is this, Striff?
Well, it's 2020 as it's Bitto on the Mercedes coming into turn 3 here. Of course, 2020 in the virtual world. But of course, Mugello this weekend, we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. But Lutra now is going to be defending against the Spaniard once again. And it's, of course, Brainstew still hunting down Shenjay for 3rd.
And Brainstew still on the hunt. Shenjay has fallen out of that DRS range, where he doesn't have that rear wing open on this occasion. So Brainstew is going to be slowly gaining on the Renault driver. It looks like Yoda has actually broken away. He's pulled that 1 second gap that he needs to stay out of DRS from Freeware. So he's actually looking very strong this race so far.
Well, he said that he was going to win this race, Mugello. So we'll have to see how well that ages here. We're only on lap 5 right now. Of course, Zamas now looking at Swifty on the inside in the Mercedes, and he's looking to recover as well. He gets it into P9, and next up for him is Jake in the Ferrari.
You can just see the amount of grip that he had through turn 11. Just so much more compared to Swifty. It looks like Alex Bitto is the first to make their pit stop, so 5 laps on the softs. Seems to be all they're good for. So we'll see if any of the others respond. Alex Bitto going onto that first set of medium tires. Zamas setting the fastest lap as well to boot. So he definitely has something to prove after that.
Oh, that's a big drift out from Jake, and he's gone off Mugello outside of turn 1. It looks like he lost all grip in that car coming around turn 1 there, and I'm not entirely sure what happened for him, but now he's going to be looking to recover, and I don't believe he has any damage, but he's now been overtaken by Ruben, the South African, now into 11th position, and BTFU not too far ahead of him, but of course not going to be happy about that is Jake. Meanwhile, Lutra in P5, he's caught up with Brainstew coming into the chicane, Mugello. Brainstew holding well in the Red Bull for now.
Yeah, but Lutra is using all that battery. He's going to fall into the same trap that Alex Bitto was in a couple laps prior. He's going to need to just save and conserve that battery for a little bit. He's down to 3% when Brainstew has over 70, or just about 70 actually. But meanwhile, Shenjay and Freeware, their teammates in the regular season, but here they are fighting hard for position. Shenjay is looking up the inside into turn 14. Freeware closes that door, and Freeware actually into the pit, so he's going to be responding to the undercut from Alex Bitto.
Lutra's had an issue, Mugello. He's coming into the pits, and he was off wide, offline, and he has been overtaken now, and he's going to lose a few positions here. Domi is into P4 as well, and he started this race on these medium compound tires. He's currently up 8 positions from where he began this race, Mugello, currently on lap 7.
Yeah, Domi's done very, very well for himself. He is theoretically able to do that one stop, I believe, just going from the mediums to a set of hards. Whereas, I don't know if these soft runners, seeing how early they're pitting, can make the one stop work going to the hards. But, wait and see. Brainstew within that DRS still of Shenjay in front of him.
Squid with a very interesting look at BTFU on the inside where there was absolutely no space, but he's gotten into 7th position right now. Of course, regular corner cutting in these races just to alleviate a little bit of stress, but it's Jake coming through. Ruben has nothing to answer this except he doesn't even know the Ferrari's there, and he's gone around. He's done a 180 on the straight. Looking to recover. Oh,
Scott
man.
boxed in, couldn't see that Ferrari next to him. Jake was coming at a rapid rate of knots.
Well, and
he's
still going.
He's still going. Around the outside, into turn 10 we go. Is he able to pull out ahead? Is he later on the brakes? Squid asking all that he can from those medium tires. They're still wheel to wheel as they make the way at the exit of turn 11 into turn 12. Jake now has the inside line. Squeezes Squid towards the outside, and he will get that move done. So very, very nice racing between those two.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot that could be done there. Ruben got caught, and it was just Jake flying through that field there. And the racing point, I just don't know if Ruben knew. Of course, now BTFU looking at Squid, the McLaren on the rear of the Alfa Romeo. He has the DRS, not utilizing too much of that energy deployment right now, but it's Squid still looking to hunt down Jake coming through turn 1, and he is very close to the rear of that Ferrari. Alex Bitto setting the fastest lap of this race on the medium compound tires, but he takes a 3-second time penalty, Mick, out. But it was a 1:33 on the mediums, and it's brain stew right now. Very tight to the rear of Shenjay. Coming up the outside, inside, down into the chicane. And he is into second position, utilizing that DRS on the Renault.
Yeah, there's lots of clumps forming all over this grid. You can just see on that map all the way that battle for 10th behind them, as well as the little battle that's happening ahead of them as well. That's Jones up the inside of Cotters into turn 8. There's a little bit of a tap. Liam going off the track there to try and avoid something. Might have made a mistake there, but he'll get a 5 seconds for corner cutting. So he'll have to serve that at the pits. But that's Jones around the outside of the Alfa Romeo. He's up into that final points place now. And there's just a massive, massive train of cars for these lower points positions.
It's crazy the amount of battling that's happening on circuit. We're only on lap 9 right now, and it has not settled down, Macau, not in the slightest. And now Liam's had an issue. It would appear he's gone round. There's a racing point into him. That's Cotters. Liam has done a 180. He is still in this race, but he's going to be losing a massive amount of time here. And Astrodite in the Haas has jumped into the pit lane here. Squid and Jake are still fighting here. It's side by side coming down into turn 1. Squid now on the back foot, the Ferrari ahead. And that's Jake back into 7th position, and they've been trading. BTFU looking to get in on this action, rubbing his hands together, waiting for an opportunity, and he does not have anyone behind him that's looking to stick around. That's Freeware and Bitto as well on some medium compound tires, barking right up the rear of this McLaren here through turn 5.
Yeah, it looks like Freeware is able to cover off that undercut that I was talking about before, but now they need to clear this traffic who's a pit stop down. Freeware with the DRS, but BTFU is pulling away from the AlphaTauri. But ahead of them, that's Squid looking up the inside into the chicane. He's a bit too late on the brakes, and he's tapped wheels with the Ferrari, and he's just gone around just because of that.
A lot of drivers taking risks here with the little bit of extra ability in these turns with the regular corner cutting for the Endurance Series, of course. Let's take a look. It's the AlphaTauri of Freeware defending off Alex Bitto and BTFU, and Alex Bitto gets through on the McLaren as well. Now it is Jake holding up the other AlphaTauri of Freeware, and it is, of course, going to be Alex Bitto. Happy to see the Ferrari doing him a favor. Coming through into the penultimate turn right now. What's the exit going to be like here through the final turn for Freeware in comparison? Is Jake going to hold up Freeware here and give that Ferrari the launch he needs?
We'll wait and see. They're all very low on battery. Jake squeezing Freeware slightly to that left-hand side, but oh my goodness, that is a very aggressive dive between teammates.
Alex Bitto, one mission here.
Yeah, he's not focused on Jake. He's focused firmly on that AlphaTauri in front. Show that the Scuderia Ferrari is the superior Italian squad. The yellow flag in sector 3. I believe that's Liam having a bit of an off. Yes, it was. And Max Singster now getting past him.
Freeware moves to the inside
as well
on Alex Bitto. Looking to defend. Alex Bitto says, that's okay, I'll go around the outside. How's the exit going to go for the Ferrari? Has he made it move on the AlphaTauri? It looks like he has for now. Alex Bitto on the inside. Freeware dropping off a little bit. He's switched off. Is he going to shoot up the inside once again here? No, Alex Bitto closing the door there, but has he closed the door for good? Freeware on the rear of the Ferrari right now in this fight for P7 at the moment, but of course a huge chunk of drivers ahead jumping into the pit lane now. Where are these two going to land?
I don't know. They have been fighting a lot. They have been losing a fair bit of time. Looks like Yoda is now out of the box and getting up to speed as we speak. But it looks like these two will jump Chenjay, it seems, and Brainstew as well, for that matter. But they aren't able to get past Yoda, which is crucial for the Albanians race.
He's going to be happy about that.
Tires. Yeah, it looks like they'll all have to be stopping once again because they're all going to those mediums. No one opting for the hards. So that tells me it's a definite 2-stop, which means that Domi could be in a very, very nice position if he chooses to go for the 1-stop.
Yeah, meanwhile, Mikau, it's Luktra, currently P8, where we saw Freeware and Alex Bitto fighting a moment ago. Of course, it's Squid in 7th position. He's defending against the Mercedes here. Luktra, a little bit fresher rubber here. DRS now. Is he going to be able to get Squid? Squid moves to the inside. Luktra weaves off to the outside, shooting up through. He's ahead down into the turn. A little bit of a move there from Squid on the inside. Luktra just takes the optimal line, and he's through into P7. Cotter's not too far behind this action. He's in that racing point, and it's Squid right now who's going to be under threat from him. Cotter's showing a little bit more pace right now through the straight. Of course, Squid having to defend Luktra here. That could be playing a massive role. But we're seeing so many battles here. We're 11 laps into this race, McCown. I don't think there's been a single lap without 3 overtakes in it.
Well, that's great to hear. Hope everyone on the stream is enjoying it as much as we are. But there is a lot of fighting going on all over this grid. Currently, this battle for 7th place is where it's at. Squid now trying to do all he can to stay with that Mercedes in front of him. But he has Cotters for company behind him as well. He's in that DRS range, and Zamis, the other Mercedes, sandwiching the two of them.
Yeah, he's on some very, very fresh mediums here, and he's going to be flying through right now. Brainstew in a very similar situation.
Yeah, Brainstew still fighting with Chenjay at the moment. Just falling, or just hovering around that 1 second mark. But I'm just watching Zamas. He's got so much more grip compared to that racing point, and goes down the inside of turn 6 like it's nothing. We'll also get the DRS to help slingshot towards that Alfa Romeo of Squid to try and catch up with his teammate.
He has so much speed down the straight in comparison to the Alfa Romeo. Just look at the amount he was able to climb down on that gap. Of course, it's less than half a second now on the exit of the chicane. He has overtaken full swing. He is not caring about that battery right now. He wants this position. He's into 8th. You have Squid looking to defend a little bit here on the inside, but so much traction on these fresh mediums. He is into 8th comfortably right now, and I think he's going to pull away.
No, I certainly hope so on those fresh mediums. He does have to catch up to his teammate and make up for that earlier mistake. But meanwhile, at the back of the grid, it looks like Wisp is also slowly catching Max Singster as Yoda will set a new fastest lap of the race. Looks like Wisp very, very close to the back of that Haas. Isn't quite able to get close enough to make a move into turns 8 and 9. We'll see what he's able to do come the Sector 3 on those fresh mediums compared to fairly worn hards. See what he's able to do. He looks at the inside of turn 11. And this is the battle for 18th, ladies and gentlemen. They're still going at it, Strip. This is amazing.
It's been pretty good, but I think it may have just come to an end now. Wisp through.
We'll see if Max Singster has an answer. He will have that DRS, but will those tires give him the grip he needs? Ooh, he has a massive, massive snap. So looks like that fight is one and done. But one that isn't is between Chenjay and Freeware. Chenjay around the outside through turn 10. He will make his way up into 4th position. Those fresher mediums certainly doing him well. Freeware struggling to keep up keep up with Alex Bitto, so I'm not quite sure if something happened or just the pace just isn't quite there. But Chenjay is already pulling out 5/10 in the space of 3 corners.
Doing very well right now in that Renault, as is Domi. Domi leading this race on those medium compound tires. 13 laps old, same tires he began this race on. Things seem to have settled down for the time.
Yeah, settled down a little bit. There's still some close gaps. Freeway has to worry about Brain Stew behind him now as well. There's also a battle brewing for 15th, as Ruben is quite close to the back of Gadwin at this stage. But it's Brain Stew now, within 5/10 of that Alpha Tauri. But Freeway will get the DRS as well. And he's gaining on Chenjay. Not opting to use that overtake just yet. Trying to save up some battery to make a move when everything is in place for him. But meanwhile, it is Domi still out in front. 6.7 seconds ahead of Yoda, who's already made one of his pit stops in this race. Alex Bitter now hovering around that 3-second gap mark. Max Singster now picking up a 3-second time penalty as well. Oh, but Freeway has a little bit of a snap at the rear. Taps the inside curbing at turn 12, so he's lost a little bit of time there. Brainster has a lot more speed. He's looking for a gap.
Oh, he might just get it
car
here.
Out wide to get a better exit. Heading down the main straight. They'll both have DRS. There's a yellow flag behind, but we aren't going to focus on that for the time being. Freeway, though, using some of that battery maybe to try and stay ahead and crucially stay within that 1-second gap of Chenjay, because once he loses that DRS, Brainstew is going to sort past him like nobody's business.
Yeah, it's crucial for him to maintain on Chenjay here, and it's going to be very hard with Brainstew breathing down his neck in this Red Bull. It appears we have another Sector 2 yellow flag here. There's a Williams going slowly there.
I do believe that was Jones. But meanwhile, Brainstew, they both have that DRS. They're both gaining on that Renault. But Brainstew just opting not to make that move yet. Swifty was also able to get past Cotters into turn 1, so he's up into 9th place as well. There's a yellow flag in sector 2
on the inside of Freeway. He's going for it, Mclaren. He's made the move into 5th position. Around the inside.
And we have a virtual safety car.
Astronite is out of this race.
Astronite is out of the race, yeah. So you hate to see it. Not quite sure where that was. Looks like it was at the exit of turn 7. Which certainly is an odd place to go off. But virtual safety car, and Domi has taken this opportunity to pit for hards. So he's going to utilize that cheap pit stop. Let's see where it pops him out. Might be just in front of these 2 Mercedes. We're still in the virtual safety car conditions. And we have green flag running once again. So looks like that incident has been cleared. Freeway now still very, very close to the backup Brainster after the VSC. Had a bit of opportunity to save up some battery. But Chenjay is now under threat from 2 bulls behind him. So we'll see what he's able to do. Freeway there, struggling to get those tires back up to temperature, it might seem. Brainster now with the DRS. He has that overtake on as well, just for a brief bit of extra acceleration. Not extra rotation this time, extra acceleration. We're going to coin that term. But isn't quite able to get close enough to make a move just yet, Striff.
Chenjay is under an immense amount of pressure because if he makes a mistake, he's going to drop through this grid quite far. Things aren't as loose on this grid as they might seem. Of course, 3 seconds is not a lot of time in racing. Of course, right now, Jake looking at Squid on the outside right now in the Ferrari. They're wheel to wheel.
Yeah, Squid going very defensive there. A little bit late on the brakes as well for turn 8, so Jake has to back out of that move. But Jake has a lot more speed on those fresher medium compound tires. See what he's able to do. Doesn't seem to be much at the moment. He's just going to hold station for the time being.
Meanwhile, Brains 2 still absolutely hunting down Shenjie. You look at the energy deployment difference, it isn't much right now. They are running in tandem. Doesn't seem to be able to shake him.
DRS. You get the feeling, Striff, that this DRS is really helping Brains 2 and Freeware stay with the Renault driver. But as I say that, Freeware looks like he's turned on that overtake mode. He's very, very close to the back of that Red Bull. It's going to be a drag race between these two down the back straight, heading into turn number 8. Who is going to be later on the brakes? Looks like Freeware will actually get out ahead before the braking zone. So he's now retaken that 4th place. And all this fighting means that the gap to Cheche has extended a little bit to 8/10, but still isn't large enough to break the DRS.
Yeah, very, very wild exchange here between these racers. Shenjie holding in 3rd. Meanwhile, he's got 2 drivers consistently trading behind him. Now we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. There's an AlphaTauri who has had an issue, and considering we're watching Freeware, that can only be Wisp. He's missing a very large portion of that front left wing, and that's for the 2nd time now. He has gone around in that car, and he is having a very poor showing here around Paul Ricard.
Brains do have a little bit of a snap, getting on that inside curbing at the last corner, so he has fallen way back from the 2 in front of him. And I keep saying, you know, even though there's lots of runoff, there isn't a lot of grip out there. So it can be quite easy to spin, especially when you are pushing the car as hard as some of these drivers are. It looks like after that little mistake, Brains 2 is right back on the tail of Freeware. Maybe not as close as he was on laps previous, but he's certainly been able to close that gap by a considerable margin. And he has a lot more speed. Freeware out of the DRS range of Shenjie now as well. Freeware going semi-defensive into turn 8. But Brains 2 looking to get a better exit than the AlphaTauri. Out of turn 9, he's using some of that overtake as well. There's another yellow flag. That's Jones going around now at the exit of turn 11. But Freeware parking his car in the middle of the track. We'll see what he's able to do. Brains 2 looking around the outside. But Freeware covers that one off. And looks like Wisp has had enough. He's pulled the car into the pits, and he'll be the 2nd retirement of this race. It's very, very unfortunate for him.
Freeware on these older medium compound tires, Mclaren, is costing Brains 2 monumentally right now, because that gap to Shenjie ahead is now extended to 1.5 seconds. Of course, Freeware out of that DRS range now, and that is going to cost him against Brains 2 major. Coming down into turn 1, we'll have to see if the move is going to happen here. You can see Brains 2 holding that outside, not choosing to go for it here, but he has a great exit out of 2. He's on the inside now, just barely on the rear of that AlphaTauri. Jumps back behind Freeware, holding patient here, Mikau, as we come through into turn 5.
Yeah, Freeware just doing all he can. He's low on that battery. You can see that red light flashing as we go down the straights when he starts to run low on battery, but overtaking DRS. And just look at the extra speed in that Red Bull. My goodness, that make it look like it was nothing. But that is Brains 2 now up into 4th position, but Freeware will have that DRS and slipstream to try and stay with the Red Bull, and hopefully they can both pull themselves back up towards Shenjie.
We'll have to see how Freeware is able to handle this, because I think it's going to be tough on these older tires.
It certainly is going to be tough on those older tires. But you know who else is close? It's the 2 Mercedes hovering around that 1 second gap. Don't know if team orders are going to be a thing, but Zamas on those fresher mediums has caught his way back up to his teammate. And we'll see what happens between those two as well, Striff.
Yeah, very intense battling gonna happen here, I think. I don't think team orders are in effect for these drivers. Overtake, DRS in full swing. If Team Orders were in effect, I don't think we'd see Zamis expending nearly his entire battery. Of course, Lutra pulling off to the inside. He's just putting that car to defend as best he can into turn 1 right now. Zamis showing a lot of pace on the fresher rubber. Of course, a lot of these drivers on these medium compound tires, Mikal, I don't think anyone's going to the end right now except maybe Domi on these hards.
And Jones as well. Jones on those hards, but Lutra's made a mistake and he's run wide. So Zamis is through, but will he have the DRS as well? There's this. Oh, no, he won't, because he spun it completely into the wall. The exit of 7, similar to what Astrodite did. So he is able to continue, thankfully, but he is missing a lot of that left side of his wing.
A lot of drivers receiving penalties here in France, regardless of the regular corner cutting, which just makes you wonder what the heck's going on. But of course, right now, Jake into that final points position for the time being. He's made it ahead of the Racing Point. That's Cotter's back into 11th position. But of course, Jake now coming through the chicane. We'll see what he's able to do on these 9-lap-old mediums. He's able
just
to...
behind them as well, Striff. It's BTFU and Squid. They're going side by side. BTFU will get the better of that move. But I don't think Squid's going to let him have it for free. He's using that overtake mode. He's looking at the inside into turn 10. And here we go. And it looks like Squid is going to take that position right back. Doesn't even need DRS, only needs the electrical power from that power unit. And he will retake that 12th spot, as it looks like Freeware and Lutra both into the pits onto a set of hards to the end.
Very interesting strategy coming out of them. Zamis into 6th position, as Swifty is in 7th. Freeware is in 8th. Where are these drivers going to come out here? Lutra has been overtaken, and now it's BTFU back on Squid out of the final turn. They're wheel to wheel coming down into turn 1. Squid utilizing that battery, but of course BTFU with the DRS, and he is through.
They are both very, very low on battery strip. Very, very low. Looks like BTFU has gotten a better run through turns 1 and 2. Was able to pull out a slight gap, but it isn't quite enough to break that DRS just yet. But Squid losing the rear of the car, opts to cut the corner just to keep the car out of the walls, and we'll pick up a 3-second time penalty for it, but might have been worth it, as that could have just ended his race right there and then.
Yeah, most definitely, as we have such a difference in tires now, difference in pace coming through on this grid. Yoda currently leading this race. 11-lap-old mediums on that McLaren, with Alex Bitto 3.7 seconds behind on much older medium compound tires.
Yeah, the only gap within that second is the battle for 14th, as Lutra trying to get those fresh hards up to temperature. Gadwin has been able to close the gap slightly, but I don't foresee any moves happening between those two as Gadwin's tires start to degrade just a little bit more. Yeah, but that gap at the front has been very, very stable. It's only extended by about 3/10 over the past 5 or so laps. So they're doing very, very consistent lap times, those two. That's Squid into the pit lane now as well. He'll be putting on a fresh set of hards to the end. But this grid seems to have spaced out a fair bit at this point, which is unfortunate, really.
Yeah, we had a lot of real hard battling in that first stint. Things have diffused down to this lull, which is something that we've seen commonly in these endurance series races, and it's something that you see commonly in Formula 1, even more so, considering the pace differential between the cars on the grid. Of course, right now it's Freeware on these hard compound tires who has caught up with Jones, the back marker now.
It's called the Endurance Series, but that's not just for the drivers. It's also for us here in the commentary booth. But BTFU is giving us something to watch. He's caught up all the way to Cotters now as well. Cotters on those very old medium compound tires. We'll see what he's able to do. But BTFU having a lot more speed. You can just see the extra grip he has through turn 10. Is he going to look up the inside? He is. And Cotters opens the door for him. And that will be BTFU up into the points. It looks like, is that Freeware having an issue? That is. Freeware's had a bit of a spin on those hards, and he's gotten passed by Jake as well.
One thing to note about Cotters here is that he started the race on his current tires, McGowan. He's the only driver on this grid that has not hit in this race yet. He's currently P11, and considering that, I'd say he's doing all right, because when he does eventually come in here, depending on what tire he jumps onto, will determine whether or not he'll have enough pace to get himself through this grid. And it looks like there's been an issue. That's Lutra in the Mercedes coming out of the final turn, and we have a safety car deployment on lap 23.
The safety car has been called. That is very, very strange.
Oh, wow.
I have never seen a safety car deployed for that reason.
Wow.
You know, Lutra just spun it at the final corner, but that was enough to trigger a safety car. So that is going to condense this grid up massively.
Hey, we're not complaining, are we, Mikkel? If you guys want to see this restart, let us know.
No, we're just going to end the stream now. No, thanks for watching, everyone.
No. You know what I meant. You know what I meant.
I know exactly what you meant.
Of course, guys, if you are just joining us, you are here for Misfits Racing League Endurance Series action. My name's Striffium. Joining me from the land down under is Mikkel. Of course, share the stream around. Get your friends, get your family in here. If you have friends driving in the race, let us know. We want to know who you guys are rooting for. Of course, we do a lot of racing here. And if you're new to the stream, hit that follow button, because we are going to be back on Tuesday this week at 2 p.m. CDT, 8 p.m. BST. Of course, that's going to be the Canadian Grand Prix, my home circuit. I'm extremely excited about that. So I hope we have some great racing from the MRL EU grid. I just can't believe we have a safety car deployed here on lap 23.
Yeah, so all these drivers, Yoda all the way down to Zamas, pitting for fresh mediums. It's going to be a tough ask. If, you know, we saw how Cotters was doing on those 22-lap-old mediums. He was doing, I'd say he was doing fairly well, but they certainly didn't have a lot of pace in them. So asking the tires to do 30 is certainly going to be asking a lot. Just from looking how early everyone else pitted off those yellow striped tires. But Domi has inherited the lead of this race on those 8-lap-old hards. And he is going to have a barrage of drivers behind him, all trying to get past. Looks like the back half of the grid is opting for hards. So all the way from Jake down to Liam, from 9th to 14th on those hards. Then we have Ruben, Lutra, and Max Singster on those mediums, and Jones on those hards down in 18th, and the last of the current runners.
Well, this is just unbelievable. Jones, who's had a very unfortunate race in this Williams, currently in 5th, technically speaking, on this grid. But he has, of course, been lapped. So he is sitting between the 4th and 5th position drivers right now, behind the safety car, and will not have an opportunity to overtake. And that is very unfortunate.
Yeah, he's going to be showing the blue flag as soon as the restart happens. It has to be done after the timing line, as there's a little bit of a connection issues, it would seem, between the Williams and the Red Bull. But no issues with that. Doesn't break the lobby, which is great to see. Yeah, just wait for these drivers to form up the queue, and then we should be underway fairly shortly.
This race has been so intense throughout that first stint, and then we had that lull, and then just a simple spin, well, not a simple spin, just a mistake. Not even retiring a car in this race, of course, warrants now this full safety car, and it's going to give us this restart. Jones going to be the only one here on this grid, unfortunately, not getting a benefit from that. And, well, Yoda as well, as he was leading this race, and as Domi didn't hit, has put himself into this very unique position leading this race.
Yeah, but I'm sure Yoda's not overly upset about it. Probably came out a bit a little early to pit onto those second set of medium tires, but they're confident that they can make it to the end. I'm a bit skeptical myself, but they'll know better than I will at this stage. They know how those tires feel now. They know how their wear is after that first stint on them, and if they're confident that they'll make it to the end, I trust in that. But I don't think they'll be feeling pretty at the end.
Going to be very interesting strategy. Freeware on these 4-lap old hards. You have Jake, BTFU on these hards, and then everybody on these mediums. Like, when that end of this race comes, poof, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we're just about to hit the halfway point. So, if you are just joining us, welcome. This is the MRL Endurance Series, round number 9 for the French GP, because we can't race at Mugello, unfortunately. Great track. It looks amazing, like lots of fun to drive, but unfortunately it is not in the F1 2020 game, so we put it up to a vote, and that's why we are here in France. It seems quite fitting that since Pierre Gasly won the Italian GP last week, it looks like Jones has had enough and has retired the car in the pits, so it's sad to see him go, but no, hopefully he had at least a bit of fun.
Yeah,
and that's why we're here.
Yeah, it's all about the fun. That's right, Mclaren. I hope you guys in the chat, in the channel, watching the stream are enjoying the race. It's been non-stop intensity until, of course, that second stint, but now we've had a complete jolt of life into this race. We're going to have a safety car restart now. All 17 drivers on this grid after Jones's retirement are going to be in this queue, volleying for points. Of course, we started this race with 20 racers. We're down to 17. Of course, Astrodite, the first one out here, Wisp following him, and now Jones. And it was very unfortunate. Normally he would have the opportunity to overtake the safety car and unlap himself, but that is currently not the case in these races, so I can't necessarily blame him, Mikal.
I mean, yeah, being a lap down from the entire field certainly is very, very disheartening, and basically rules out any chance of a good result, unless you're Lewis Hamilton, apparently. But anyway, the safety car will be coming in this lap, so it'll be up to Domi now to pace the field through Sector 3, and we're going to see what he's able to do off this restart.
Yeah, really curious to see what kind of temperature he's been able to maintain in these hard compound tires as well. Mikal, the hard's always notoriously difficult to get temperature in. Everyone else behind him on these mediums going to have a little bit more temps. I think you can see he's weaving here. The big question is, when is he going to take off?
Yeah, from my experience, the amount of temperature in those hard compound tires at the moment is next to nothing. So it will be quite a wild ride. Actually, for all these drivers, they're going to have pretty cold tires, so they will have to be wary of the lack of grip in the first couple of corners. But the safety car is in the pit lane, so it's up to Domi as to when he wants to put his pedal to the metal, and it looks like it will be out of the final corner, and we are racing once again, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like the top three have got an amazing restart. Chenji already falling down a bit from the order. Alex Bitter having a little bit of a look down the inside, but isn't able to find that space to make their way through turn 1 off the safety car restart. Domi still holding out in front. Alex Bitter putting Yoda under a lot of pressure, using that overtake mode. Yoda squeezing him towards the right-hand side. But he's able to hold on to that position. Meanwhile, a bit further down the grid, we have battles going on all over the place.
Yeah, it's brain stew right now, really tight to Shenji, and I imagine Alex really happy that he caught Yoda as well, because Yoda with a lot of pace around here, defending right now against Alex Bido, and this is a dream for Domi, but Yoda's looking at him as well, and he can't make any mistakes on those hards right now. These mediums going to carry a lot of pace compared right now in this phase of the race.
And they'll certainly have a lot more grip, but there's also Brainstew eyeing up Chenji once again. And we didn't even speak about Zamas, but this safety car has actually helped him immensely. He's all the way back up into P6, right in touch with the leaders. And speaking of the leaders, looks like Yoda is looking down the inside of turn 11. Domi will have the inside for turn 12. He has to leave the room. It gives him a bit good old squeeze. Alex Bitter now looking for a way past, but he's now boxed in. Domi now on the inside. There's a little bit of a love tap between those two, but no harm done. Alex completely missing the corner there at the last corner, but that is going to completely ruin his exit. Shenjay now with that overtake mode is going to soar past that Ferrari. Alex Bitter now derating, running out of that deployment before the start-finish line, so Shenjay just had a whole lot more speed. Brainster now as well on the back, so that eagerness from the Spaniard has cost him immensely. He's dropped now down to 4th place with Brainster and Zamis right on his rear.
Yeah, now Domi is going to give Yoda an opportunity here. If Domi defends hard here against these drivers on mediums, it could provide Yoda with that opportunity. He needs to break out of DRS, and we saw what happens when he does that. He pulled an amazing gap earlier in this race once he got out of DRS range.
Yeah, maybe I'm just keeping my eye as well on this battle further down the grid. Looks like we have Liam and Squid, the two Alfa Romeos, getting very close together. Looks like Liam is going to go around the outside as well. Has a little bit of a snap of oversteer, but no love lost between those two. They are both
There's been an issue.
And there's been an issue. Looks like it's Domi and Alex Bido falling way down the order, and Domi has gotten a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Zamis of all people.
Wonder what on earth happened there. We'll take a look at Zamis to see if he's got any damage. It does not appear he does, so maybe he just got tapped gently or something. Very, very odd. Alex Bido got caught up in whatever that was as well, because he has dropped into 9th. We'll take a look at his front end. It doesn't appear that he has any damage, at the very least on the front right, but that front left is also intact, so he doesn't have any damage, and nobody knows what the heck happened through that set of turns. But of course Lutra now on Squid through turn 1. Around the outside is the Mercedes, through into turn 2. He's on the inside. Squid holding around, of course, utilizing regular corners here through this endurance series. Liam meanwhile has caught up with Alex.
Just using that extra track leeway to try and stay in front. But Swifty as well is right on the back of Freeware after that mistake. Freeware closing the door, but Swifty says, nah, I'm taking this side. You can go behind me, and gets into P5 easily. Lutra now as well. They're side by side with Squid into the braking zone. Lutra on that left-hand side has to leave a bit of space for Squid. But Squid getting a little bit hairy out of that corner. He's going to squeeze Ruben all the way to the white line. Lutra swerving all the way to the right-hand side, going defensive into turn 10. And that is very, very sketchy between those two. Lutra later on the brakes will take the inside for the first part of the apex. But Ruben now trying to look up the inside, but it just wasn't there. Now his teammate Cotters is getting in on the action. He's now up into 13th past his teammate.
Crazy racing we're seeing here in this field right now.
Oh, but it doesn't look he's going to hold on to it. Ruben fighting back. There's still side-by-side strife. And Ruben trying to go for a switchback-like move. So we'll get the DRS. They're still side-by-side. Unbelievable racing between the two red racing points.
Alex Bido's come in for a set of hards, a winch, and a retirement. So that Ferrari out of this race. Alex Bido, who we saw fighting ever so hard up at the front of this grid, now out of the race. Not entirely sure what happened coming through Sector 3, Mikal, but apparently it wasn't very good, because we saw Liam overtake him with a very, very good jolt of speed down the straight on lap 29. And now, right now, still in this fight, Cotters, Ruben, Squid in a fight for 11th.
Yeah, that seems to be where all the fighting is at present. Ruben now with that DRS looking up the inside into turn 8. Has a massive lockup on that front left, but is able to get the car slowed down enough. Squid doing well to avoid contact with the racing point. But with that overtake mode on, he's catching right back up. He doesn't even need DRS. He's looking around the outside. Ruben closing the door there, but he opens the door on the inside for turn 11. There's still Whistle. There's a bit of a tap there. Squid catching the drift. That'll also mean that Cotters in the other racing point will get past or Willie. They're still side by side through turn 12. Squid keeping his nose ahead.
Nice recovery from a drift, if I do say so myself, Mclaren, but Cotter's still hunting him down, and those tires are going to have a little bit of temperature after a drift. DRS now, overtake, coming out of the final turn as we head down the pit straight into turn 1. Is Cotter's going to have the run he needs? Not a lot of battery for him. It's good with the DRS on, of course, Ruben. Going to keep him in a defensive position for the time being.
Yeah, BTFU was also able to get past Jake in the turn 1, just ahead of that pack. It looks like Freeware is trying to catch up to Swifty as well, but those 10-lap old hards compared to the fresh and medium tires aren't really doing the German very well, at least at this stage in the race. I don't know how it will be at the end, but
Max
time
Singster
will tell.
is having a look at Cotters now in the Haas. He wants P13. He's going to get it for now as we make our way down into the chicane. The Haas on the medium compound tires, looking to catch up with Squid if he can hold 13th away from Cotters. Cotter's been doing good here on these hards.
Yeah, he's been doing very, very well. But Max Singster on those mediums, just utilizing the extra amount of grip that he has. I'm also keeping an eye on these top 3 as Brainstew is within half a second of Shenjay in front of him. Freeware as well within that DRS range of Swifty. And the battle for 8th place seems to be brewing as well at the moment, Striff.
Yeah, I have my eyes on Liam at the moment. He is in that Alfa Romeo, of course, and he has Jake ahead of him, quite close. DRS coming down into turn 1. He looks at the inside. Lutra in that Mercedes on the medium compound tires behind these 2 hard runners. So we'll have to see what kind of pace he's able to pull here. Liam looking at Jake coming into turn 3 through 4 now. Liam showing good pace against this Ferrari. We're going to see how it goes down the straight here through turn 6 now. What's the exit going to be like? Quite neat, but of course Lutra's here as well.
But Jake, we've been trying to break that slipstream. But it looks like Liam will go up on the inside. Very, very late on the brakes. Jake leaves him the space, but he defends very well. And Liam getting a little bit swirly out of that corner. And they'll both be using overtake, him and Lutra behind him in 10th place, really gaining on this Ferrari. And Liam might actually look for a move here down the inside into turn 11, but Jake, later on the brakes, will cover that off. Or will he? Liam opting to go a little bit off the track just to try and stay with them. Looks like Freeway's had a bit of an issue as well, so he's going to be right up with these 3 as well. And will actually be behind them. So not quite sure what happened to him, but this is a massive, massive fight for P8. As Brainstew as well for P3 is looking to make that a P2 as well.
Yeah, he's very tight at the rear of Shenjay now. Freeware into that pit lane after whatever happened to him. Of course, it's Liam coming after Jake through turn 1. Brainstew not ready to get the move done on Shenjay. We're going to jump back on over there right now because it's going to be through the straight now with that DRS. Is he going to have enough to get that Renault?
I don't know. He's not using that overtake, so I don't think he'll be going for it on this occasion, but he's just trying to make sure Shenjay knows he's there. Shenjay going very slowly through that chicane. Brainstew needing to slam on the brakes there to avoid a collision, but with the overtake mode on now, I think this is going to be where he's going to make his move, and he has that inside for turn 10, and that'll be the Red Bull up into 2nd place, at least for now. We'll see if Shenjay has an answer in a couple laps' time.
Liam in this hunt for Jake. Jake trying to squeeze him off here through the very fast, flat right-hander. Coming down through turn 11.
Oh, there's Lutra up the inside of Liam as well.
Big lunge from him.
Very late on the brakes. It looks like they'll get about a similar exit. But with these 2 fighting, it allows Jake to have a bit of breathing room, at least for a corner. But you certainly get the feeling Jake's slightly holding up these 2. But he's doing very well to defend against them. His battery's all the way down to 3%, mind you. But these two, Liam and Lutra, still aren't able to get past the Ferrari.
Yeah, he's having a very good defensive drive here, Jake, right now. He's in 7th position. He's 2.4 seconds and dropping off of BTFE right now. This, of course, as a result of the fighting. The Alfa Romeo of Liam looking at the inside through turn 5 there. Doesn't get the move done. That's going to cost him a little bit to Lutra. Lutra has a great exit coming through into the straight here. But, of course, Liam with that DRS on Jake. Jake without the DRS, he's going to climb through so much quicker here. Jake, not a lot he can do to answer this. Liam into 7th position, touching through turn 9 right now. Lutra, that's Jake utilizing a lot of that exit and going wide, but Lutra not able to get the traction he needs right now and the exit he needs to keep up with these two to make a move. Of course, Jake still half a second behind Liam. He's not giving up on that position in the slightest.
Yeah, Brainster was also able to get past Chenji at the top of the grid, but never mind that. It looks like it's Jake and Lutra side by side. Lutra opting again for that outside line through turn 12, but this time he gets a much better exit than Jake, and he is going to soar past that Ferrari. So it took them a few laps, but they are now both past the Ferrari of Jake. And now Jake has Ruben to worry about behind him as well, so the pressure doesn't end here for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, and we saw, of course, Shenjay was in 2nd. Brains2 overtook him. Now, of course, Shenjay has made that move back into 2nd position here, and it looks like they're going to continue to do tango for some time. Meanwhile, Cotters and Squid right now very tight through turn 1. There's a lot of battles unfolding here on circuit, and that's what you love to see, Mikal.
Yeah, it certainly is. Brains2 now getting very close to the rear of Chenji once again, and has a lot more battery than the Renault driver. But all of this battling is doing Yoda a whole bunch of favors. He's now got that 1.6 second gap. Maybe not the largest gap in the world, but it certainly is comfortable. And he's he's out of that DRS range, my mistake. So he's just sitting pretty there in P1. We'll see if he's able to deliver on his promise, but there still are quite a few laps left to go in this race.
Wheel to wheel right now between Ruben and Jake. Ruben's made the move into 9th position in turn 10. They're coming through 11 now. He's holding it in 9th. Of course, Lutra ahead of Liam as well, and we've had a timing desync here on the tower. Hopefully it fixes itself when these drivers cross the line here. Fortunately, it happened just before the new lap, and it's Brainstew on his way on the rear of Shenjay into turn 1, currently less than 2/10. But of course, Shenjay holding through for now. Back on over to Liam and Lutra. Liam with DRS on the Mercedes now. Is he going to be able to answer this?
We'll see. He's gaining, but I don't think he's gaining enough. Yeah, he'll have to hold behind for the time being. Ruben as well, almost just as close to the back of Liam as Liam is to Lutra. They're both within that DRS range still, and Jake is doing all he can to stay with these three in front of him, but it just isn't quite working. But Liam getting very close, as well as Ruben has a little bit of a moment. Does well to catch the car. So he's out of the fray now in this 5 for 7. Liam with that DRS, he's not using that overtake mode just yet, but he doesn't even need it. He's looking around the outside into turn 8, leaves Lutra the room. They're still side by side. There's a bit of a tap, but it doesn't seem to have cost either of them too much. Now the overtake mode for a bit more acceleration out of the corner. It looks like they're both trying to use that overtake mode. Lutra very, very low on the battery. Liam has that extra 2 kbh that he needs, and that is very, very aggressive. Lutra forced to go off the track just slightly, but he will hold on to that position by going off track. So I don't know quite how legal that was.
Well, he's very lucky there, Lutra, because he jumped the curbing. That curbing almost threw him into the wall, if I'm being completely honest, because it looked like he took it sidewards, and he almost went the whole way. Of course, keeping those tires rotating, I think he was able to find a little bit of grip to keep him going.
Now, don't look now, Striff, but it looks like Brainstew is very close to the back of Chenjay with 80% battery. Chenjay only at 20%, and Yoda has pulled out another half a second on these two as they continue to fight. So Brainstew now will make his way back up into second place, and let's see if he's able to utilize that battery to try and break out of that DRS range. But he looks like Chenjay gets an amazing exit out of the chicane. They're going to be wheel to wheel heading into turn 10. Here we go. Once again, Striff. Chenjay with that inside line gets cleanly past the Red Bull.
Wow, nicely done. Brainstew having a little bit of a peek around the outside there. Falls back behind the Renault for now. This battle very tight right now. Almost a love tap from the Red Bull on the rear of that Renault here, and he is just right within 1/10 of Chenjay right now, coming through the penultimate turn.
Wow, what great racing we're witnessing between these two. No love lost, but all this fighting does mean that Yoda is pulling away. But with Brainstew with this DRS, is he going to go for the move here? It doesn't look like it. Opting to wait for that main straight as Yoda actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. So it isn't all plain sailing for him now. He will need to make 3 seconds in order to keep his win.
He made his job very hard just then, McCowan. Of course, Chenjay and Brainstew, they've been fighting lap after lap. Chenjay and Brainstew exchanging positions quite a few times, but it's Chenjay that's been able to hold out second for a longer period of time in this, well, King of the Hill matchup. And of course, Yoda is the king at the moment, but that 3-second time penalty is going to give him a problem now, because Chenjay is currently 2.5 seconds behind, and the gap that Yoda is going to need to pull out is going to need to exceed, of course, 3 seconds, barring any penalties we may have missed. And Brainstew just may be able to make that happen for Yoda if this battle continues with Chenjay.
Yeah, it looks like the battle between Lutra and Liam is also still brewing, as well as one between Max Inkster and Squid, as well as those two are coming down the back straight. Looks like Squid very late on the brakes, actually taps and pushes Max Inkster out of the way. But it looks like Max Inkster will have the better exit using that battery to full effect. He will take back P11 as they make their way into sector 3 as well.
Brainstew back with Chenjay on the inside. Mikhail coming down the pit straight into turn 1. He's through into second ahead of the turn. And now Chenjay taking a 3-second time penalty.
Wow. And with all that fighting, Yoda has got the 3-second gap he needs. But whether he can maintain it is a different story. There's no doubt in my mind that he certainly has the skill and the capabilities to, but it's all on Brainstew as to whether that happens or not. The yellow flag.
Luke just had an issue and a reset to track to boot, and he's going to drop to 10th. Mikau, Jake, and Ruben flying through on him, and now there's another exchange. Brainstew and Chenjay once again through into turns 8 and 9. Chenjay out through on the Red Bull, and these two just continue to do the dance here around France. Of course, Brainstew back down looking into turn 10 here, but he jumps on the rear of the Renault once again. Is he going to make it through on the inside into 11? He just isn't close enough just yet, but of course the battery deployment on that Red Bull very, very high in comparison to Chenjay right now, Mikau.
Yeah, I don't know quite why Brainstew isn't using a lot of it, but they both of them go off track there as they make their way through turn 13 into 14 now as well. But one driver that we haven't really been talking about with all this fighting is Zamis behind. Now with all this fighting, Zamis could have an opportunity to catch up, and Chenjay does have that 3-second time penalty as well, as we are now on lap 40 of this race. But yeah, Zamis might be in a unique spot. He seems to not have many cars around him. He's just running his own race, but he could end up on the podium if these two in front of him keep fighting as hard as they do.
Yeah, the fighting costing them time to Yoda ahead, and he's going to be happy about that. And now it's Luktra who's had an issue. Where is that issue happened? On the way into the pit lane. He is retired in the pit lane, it would seem. Yeah,
it's very, very unfortunate. He was doing quite well for himself, but then just a couple of key errors just unraveled his race from there. So you hate to see it.
Most
but
definitely.
He will be the 5th retirement, I believe. Yes, I can count. I think.
Yes, he will be the 5th retirement after, of course, Alex Bitto, and it's Brainstew still within half a second, keeping this interesting at the front of the grid. We also have Cotters keeping it interesting with Max Inkster. He's within half a second, looking for that final point in the top 10. And of course, there's so much difference in strategy here. There's a bit of a tap there from Brainstew on the rear of Shenjay. Shenjay recovers from the drift. Max Inkster and Cotters coming together now. It looks like Max Inkster going offline. I'm not entirely sure if it was contact or if he just lost the car out of that turn, but of course, Cotters into 10th position, and it's Squid now who is going to be benefiting from that exchange because he is looking right at this racing point coming down into turn 11. He's looking around the outside, Mikal, and that racing point coming through on the inside there. Is Squid going to get through? Yes, he is, and he is currently on the harder rubber. Or older rubber, excuse me.
Yeah, Squid doing very, very well there, just trying to hold on to that final point from that racing point behind him. But it looks like Cotters is very low on that battery, but so is Squid. So we'll see what's able to come of those two. I've just been keeping my eye on this gap at the front, and that gap between Zamis and Brainstew is slowly but surely decreasing. Because Yoda's just running away with this. He's absolutely loving it. He now has a 5.6 second gap.
Has had a god-awful exit out of 9, Macau, and it's going to be Brainstew through into 10 here. Quite clean.
Is Chenjay going to make a dive in the inside? Brainstew covers him off. So Brainstew will hold on to second for, dare I say, another half a lap. Or they'll just leapfrog back and swap positions once again. But Chenjay seems to really be struggling on this lap, actually. That's another mistake. Locking up in the 12 and then getting a whole bunch of oversteer on the exit. A whole bunch of wheel spin. But all this fighting, yeah, Zamis is now just outside 2 seconds. For this Brainstew weaving, trying to break the toe a little bit. But it isn't quite enough. Chenjay still catching as Brainstew now will pick up a 3-second time penalty as well. Chenjay going way off track there. But yeah, with both of them having a 3-second time penalty, Zamis could end up in P2 at the end of this race. I don't believe Zamis has any penalties, but I might be wrong on that one.
Of course, if you have a moment, feel free to take a look as it's Cotters in this battle for 10th position right now. Squid defending to the inside. That racing point has now gone into that wheel-to-wheel moment. Round the outside. Is Cotters going to be able to get it done? Squid holds in 10th for now. Max Inkster very hungry for a position here. He's looking at the inside of the racing point coming into turn 3.
Oh, leaving him no space whatsoever there. Forcing him onto the curbing. Very, very cheeky from the Haas driver. But of course he isn't a Haas, so
oof.
Take that as you will.
Yeah, meanwhile, Genjay's caught up with Brainstew once again here, and it looks like his struggles may be over as we come through Sector 3.
It looks like Zamis as well is falling off a little bit. It looks like the top 3 all have a 3-second time penalty, and Zamis is on 2 warnings. So he will be happy about not having the penalty just yet. But Chenjay now going up the inside of Brainstew into turn 1. And he will make that move stick for the time being, but Brainstew is still very, very close to the back of this Renault. And they are, oh my goodness, this is making me anxious, Drift. They are so close. And so many occasions have been close to colliding.
Yeah, and speaking of close, Freeware on around the outside of Max Inkster into 11th position. Cotters behind this action. We'll see if Max Inkster has an answer for Freeware right now. Max Inkster on some very old tires coming into turn 1. He's ahead of Freeware.
Yeah, it looks like he's able to make that move. With Freeware on the fresher rubber, we'll be using a slight bit of overtake. Try and pass the Haas driver. And we'll see what he's able to do. Just trying to get the best possible exit onto the straight he can. Both these cars will have DRS from Squid. either from each other or from Squid in front, but Freeway is all over this Haas. Sure, if he has that DRS on, but he's not using that overtake just yet. Now he puts a little bit of it on, trying to just pull alongside. Later on the brakes, down the inside, Max Singster has no choice but to yield, and he will be down into 12th place as Freeway tries to climb his way back up into the points.
Meanwhile, Brains2 looks at Shenjay. He had a lunge up the inside for a moment, dropped the brakes, and he has now pulled off the Renault. As it looked like he wanted to do it and he thought better of it, but we're coming down into turn 3 now. We'll have to see what he's able to do coming out of turn 6.
Freeway as well now, all over the back of Squid. He wants that point. I don't know if he'll be able to catch Jake by the end of the race. He's slowly running out of time as we have 10 laps remaining in this race. But Freeway now, he certainly wants that P10 after probably a disappointing race on his end. But they are side by side now, Freeway with the DRS. Squid not having that DRS, but it looks like Freeway using a bit more overtake. He is going to get that move done. So that is Freeway, the German, now back up into the points as there's still a fight going on between Shenjay and Brains2.
Yeah, I was trying to pick a fight there. I picked Shenjay versus Brains2. They came into 7-8. Of course, there was an exchange. Brains2 got ahead of Shenjay, but Shenjay now back into second position here as Freeway took the position on Squid. Cotter's still holding well behind Max Singster, but Max Singster started to pull off of Squid, and of course, Max Singster on these 21 lap old medium compound tires, the oldest mediums on the grid presently.
Yeah, I don't know how these medium tires will be feeling. It was at this point that we saw Cotters start to struggle a little bit, but it looks like they're still holding off strong. Zamus really needs to put his foot down if he wants to get that second place, because of course he has to remember these two in front of him do have 3-second time penalties. Currently the gap between him and Shenjay is sitting around that 3-second mark. He just needs to keep his nose clean, make as little mistakes as he can. And can I just add as well, Yoda is absolutely loving this.
Oh, I can't imagine he has any complaints in the lead of this race. 7 seconds to boot as the gap, and of course it's another exchange between Brains2 and Shenjay. Brains2 out in front, back into second, of course, and Shenjay just looking to defend here. And we have been seeing these two do the dance for quite some time in this race. Shenjay back on the inside, coming through out of 10.
Oh, he leaves him the room. Brainster is still there. There's a little bit of contact. They're still wheel to wheel as they make their way into turn 12. Brainster will have the inside for that corner and gets a decent enough exit, but the switchback attempt from Shenjay won't be working out this time. So Brainster holding off the Renault for the third sector, but I don't think Shenjay's going to let him have it for too much longer. At least historically anyway, he has that DRS, he's got a lot more speed than that Red Bull. He has a look up the inside, but decides better of it and is going to wait for a better opportunity.
Ruben is coming to the pit lane now. He's off of the medium compound tires. The good question is going to be when and where is he going to come out here? Or excuse me, where is he going to come out and on what tires is he going to come out on is going to be the question for him. I believe it's going to be a soft switch, of course. It is. Where is he going to exit this pit lane? It looks like he is comfortably out in 9th position as Shenjay on Brains2.
So Freire will get past Ruben and he might get overtaken by the other cars behind him as well. But Shenjay, as you were saying, Striff, is past Brains2 once again. So it lasted a lap. And that's been the story between these two all this entire third stint. And ever since that safety car restart. But meanwhile, further down the grid as well, Cotters is keeping Max Singster honest on those 22 lap old hard compound tires. And he is still setting personal bests in the first sector. So they still have some life left in them, still have some pace. The DRS is now open for both of those drivers. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing a move just yet. Cotters has 0% battery, absolutely nothing left in the tank. but he is much later on the brakes. Max Singster leaves the door open for the racing point. Is he going to be able to pull alongside? It looks like Max Singster using some of his resources to just try and stay ahead of this racing point. He wants that 12th position, even though there's no points. There's bragging rights up for grabs.
Very, very intense battle between those two. Of course, Brains2 and Shenjie have been having this dance for this entire race. The Renault and the Red Bull, not really an opportunity to breathe for one another here, as it's just been a continuous attack and defense game.
Brains2 now. Just trying to iron up. He has a little bit of mistake, but he catches it.
Yeah, but did he catch it in time? Shenjie's shown a very, very good amount of speed through this third sector, Mikau, and that might have been the slip-up he needed to maybe pull away from this Red Bull here. But of course, Brains2, a good chunk of battery in reserve to utilize should he need to recover from a slip-up like that.
He's already clawed back a 10th. He's now clawed back 2 tenths. I think this fight is still on, Striff. The fight
what
continues.
You love to see.
Keep an eye on Ruben in the other racing point, as he's now made his way up to the back of Freeware on those fresh softs, going 1.2 seconds faster than his previous best on those fresh soft eventually I'll get this right, fresh soft compound tires.
Freeware, not a lot he can do here, but he holds the inside a little bit. Ruben backs off.
Yeah, I mean, he knows he's got a lot more grip, a lot more pace in those tires, at least for the time being. Just got to be patient. Yes, that's exactly right, Striff.
Look at the traction coming out of this final turn right now. Freeware in 9th position. Short shifting is the racing point. DRS overtake and utilization, but not a lot of that battery right now. Look at the traction. He sets the fastest lap at 130.7, excuse me, up the inside through turn 1. And Freeware has had a slide. And as we said, the grip is definitely much better on those soft compound tires than what Freeware just had to experience on those mediums.
He just got too eager on the throttle, maybe, or this the dirty air. He wasn't accounting for the dirty air from that racing point being so close to him. But that is another uncharacteristic mistake from Freeware, and that is not cost him another position, but it's certainly put him on the back foot. And he might be under threat from the guys behind, but considering how old their tires are, I find that unlikely.
24 laps, 25 now for all of these, well, most of these medium runners and the hard runners as well, as that safety car gave them an opportunity to get on some tires to go to the end of this race. Of course, the pace difference in Ruben right now compared to the rest of this grid is massive, and there is still some racing left to happen here. He's currently taking down the gap to P8 very, very quickly.
I mean, 2-lap-old softs versus 24-lap-old hards. It's no surprise, but still 8 seconds within the last 4 remaining laps is quite the ask. Freeware now into the pits as well. So it looks like he is getting off those mediums. Don't know if he actually picked up any damage from that spin. It didn't look like it, but he has given up on that last point. But maybe just looking to have some fun in these final remaining laps.
I just can't get over this battle between Shenjie and Brains2. I can't. I mean, Luktra and Alex Bitto is what this reminds me of, Mikau. Just this consistent battling. Of course, for that battle, if I'm not mistaken, there was another 2 drivers battling right behind them in Freeware and Yoda. And that was just a wild top 4 through that Brazilian endurance race. Of course, that can be found on our YouTube channel. But it's Max Inkster looking at Squid down the straight here. Is he going to get the overtake done into the points?
There's a little bit of wheel banging between those two, but Squid manages to hold off for another lap. Meanwhile, we are now on lap 50, the 53 in this race. Yoda with an absolutely stellar drive so far. 8.7 seconds ahead of Shenjay, who still is under attack from Brainstew.
Cotters looked at Maxingster through the inside of 11. Not able to get it done. Sorry to interrupt you there, Mika, as it's extremely close between these two in this fight for what could potentially be the final points position here, as, of course, Squid isn't too far ahead of these guys and is on some very, very old hard compound tires right now.
They're all on very, very old tires, Striff. I don't know how much difference the tire compound is actually going to make, considering the age of those things. But Squid's doing very well to hold off this Haas for the time being, at least. And yeah, but he's running out of time. Maxingster and Cotters are both running out of time to make this move stick, with 4 laps to go, including the current one. Yeah, time's running out.
Time is running out. Maxingster and Cotters both going to have an opportunity here on Squid.
Keeping an eye as well on this fight at the top. Brainstew still knocking on the door of that Renault. Just keep one eye on that. Keep one eye on this battle for the final points place. It's like Maxingster getting out a considerable gap. Now it's Cotters looking around the outside into turn 10, but isn't quite able to get alongside as they are. He's now back at 0% battery strip.
Yeah, really not able to keep any energy reserve at this phase of the race. He's just pushing his absolute hardest to try and maintain a fight for that podium point, or not podium point, excuse me, final point position. Squid still very tight to Max.
Just have a 10 driver podium for everyone who scored points. make it happen. But meanwhile, Brainstew still just sitting at that 2/10 gap. Just isn't really closing it out.
Maxingster pushing Squid so hard to the inside there. With an overtake from him. Cotters almost getting collected by Maxingster, trying to recover from that, of course. Very, very interesting craft. We're on the 51st lap of this race. And this has allowed Domi to catch up to this as well, McCown. We know how Domi is throughout the Endurance Series, quite rapid.
Yeah, so this is now a 4-way battle for the final point of this race. Domi now with that DRS. Cotters also with the DRS, though. They are both very, very low on their battery reserves. Maxingster as well ahead of them. Looking up the inside of Squid into the chicane. Looks like Domi has gotten past, and there's a little bit of a tap between Squid and Maxingster, and that means Domi has made it 2-1. All the way up into P11 now. And here we go. Maxingster isn't going to let him have it for free. He's using that overtake mode round the outside of turn 10. There's a bit of a contact there, and Domi's been spun around.
Big spin out of that Renault.
And Max got a puncture. Maxingster on lap 52 of this race has gotten a puncture.
Well, lap 52 of this race, he's on 28 lap old, soon to be 29 lap old medium compound tires here. Of course, Yoda is currently on the same tire life. We'll see if we get punctures from any of these front runners.
The top five all on the same life of tires, so I think my prediction was right. These medium tires aren't designed to go 30 laps in a row. But yeah, hopefully nothing happens for these front runners, especially Yoda. He's done so well all race. He does have a sizable gap should anything happen.
Well, I think if any tires were going to go here, it would be Shenjay and Brainstew. They've been battling for 20 laps easily. Easily 20 laps. I mean, 23 at the very least throughout this race.
Yeah, but as Yoda has now started the final lap of this race, Maxingster now coming out of the pits right in front of Brainstew and Shenjay. Both of them are able to navigate past the Haas driver. But it's all or nothing between these two. Brainstew now has that 50% battery reserve saved up. Shenjay only about 20% and also has that fuel light flashing. He's also low on the fuel reserve to boot. Maxingster now cutting all the way across the track, getting in front of Shenjay, and that's given Shenjay DRS as well. Wow, these are some interesting tactics between those two.
I don't know if it's going to be enough here. I don't know if it's going to be enough here, Mikau. Brainstew is so close. Of course, there's penalties at play.
Yeah, but he doesn't get a good exit out of the final corner. Max Singster there, just chilling there on the runoff. Just trying to stick with these two, you know, be the side camera shot, as it were. But that it wasn't enough. Brainstew just not using all of his battery. Maybe he doesn't know it's the last lap, or just is saving for something special on the line. But meanwhile, Yoda asked this man for the lottery numbers, because he has just won the French GP. He has delivered on his statement with a 10-second gap back to Chenjay and Brainstew. Chenjay holding off the Red Bull, and they will come across the line. Chenjay and Brainstew.
And Zamis
get the notice, because Zamis here, keeping it penalty free, has leapt all the way onto the podium in second place.
50 now, collecting P5 across the line. BTFU crossing into 5th as Swifty gets demoted on penalties. It's Liam now rounding the final corner here around Le Castellet. Of course, Paul Ricard.
Now there's still a battle for this final points drift. Freeware is all over the back of Squid. It isn't over yet. Squid on 31 lap old hards. Freeware looking up the inside into 14. He now switches back, trying to take it around the outside. And it looks like he'll get that move done. He has the inside. He pushes Squid a little bit wide there. And Freeware will get past for that final point in this race. Actually, he won't, because of the penalties. So Squid will hold on to that point after all the penalties. And my goodness, was that an exciting race.
That most definitely was an exciting race, Mikau. 53 laps of intensity here around France. Around the Paul Ricard circuit, of course, Yoda with the win. Zamis with the P2.
Liam with the driver of the day. That's what everyone cares about.
The driver of the day, of course. Yes, the McLaren on the top step here in this one. The Mercedes in second. And Chenjay in that Renault. After a stellar drive, I have to say, in defense of course, Brainstew. And, of course, hats off to Brainstew as well. Just, oh, what a race this has been here for round 9 of the Endurance Series. Of course, very fitting that we had this circuit in place of Mugello, considering Gasly's win last week in Monza. Yoda, once again, with that race win. Zamis in second from 6th, and it's Chenjay from 3rd. To 3rd here in this one. Yoda called it. He said, I'm winning France. Watch me do it. Well, we just did. And what a race it was from him. A fantastic gap. 8.997 seconds. The gap from 1st to 2nd at the line. And fantastically done from him. Brainstew in 4th. BTFU in 5th. Swifty in 6th. Liam in 7th. Jake in 8th. Ruben in 9th with Squid. Rounding out the top 10 racers here, Domi in 12th, Freeware in 13th, Gadwin in 14th with Max Singster, in 15th with Lutra. Down through into the 20th position, racers that started this race, unable to finish in this one. Wow, Mikau, what a Grand Prix that was.
I mean, if that's any indication of what we can expect in a couple weeks' time when the MRL season visits this track, then I am definitely looking forward to that one.
What a race. Round 9, of course. If you guys enjoyed it, let us know in the chat. We would love to hear what you thought of that French Grand Prix. Of course, it was regular corner cutting, reduced damage. We had that safety car that jumbled up everything. It was a fantastic drive from Yoda, of course, and all of the points finishers and all of the drivers that made it the distance, Mikau, around France. And even with the regular corner cutting, drivers extending as best they can, still, of course, catching a few penalties, as we saw at the end of that race.
Yeah, well, considering that, some of these drivers might have a bit of work to do when we get the stricter corner cutting stringency when we come here in a couple weeks' time. But No, that was a great race, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one. I hope you did, Striff, and I hope that everyone in the chat watching this stream did as well.
Yeah, it was a fantastic drive. Of course, if you missed any of it, you can find it on our YouTube channel. It will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So I encourage all of you guys to check that out. Head on over there. We've got circuit guides, highlights from all of our league races, and all of our league replays as well, and a lot more content coming soon. Of course, my name is Striffium. Joining me as always was Mclaren, and that is going to wrap up action for this evening. If you're looking to join the Misfits community and just a great bunch of racers where we are, keen to teach and keen to learn, the Misfits community could be for you. Of course, the link in the chat. We're going to head on over and raid the founder. That is Mr. Zamis, who just collected second position in this race. Congratulations to him, of course. We're going to head on over there, and we will see you guys this Tuesday for the MRL EU grid that takes two. Of course, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is going to be the Canadian Grand Prix for round number 9 of Misfits Racing League Season 3. And I am super stoked about that because, of course, I'm a Canadian. I'd love to see the drivers go around my home circuit because I didn't get to see it this year in 2020. So looking forward to that. Hope to see you then. Have a great night, everybody.